What is up, y'all? We are here for our weekly anchor message where we are getting our spiritual assignments and lessons for the week ahead. Last night we had the weekly energy oracle forecast, and the night before that, on Saturday night, we had a really great first sort of episode getting into the meat of the Gospel of Thomas in our popular Secret Teachings of Jesus series. So hope y'all been enjoying that. I know I did. So the weekly energy forecast really lined up as usual with the Torah portion of the week. And this week's focus in the Torah portion is about God warning Moses against bringing the mixed multitude with him to Sinai. And so the mixed multitude, what that represents is destructive consciousness or influences or even people. You know, we're applying this to layers within ourselves and in our environment. But the immediate consciousness, thoughts, attitudes, perceptions, projections that we hold that are creating destruction and division in our own life and that are throwing us into dissonance with our spirit. It's throwing us out of alignment with our authentic soul's calling and path and purpose. And we are sort of projecting expectations or waiting for a certain result. We're expecting material results. We want to see the change. We want to see the good things coming. We want to see to reinforce, right? But that is the Babylonian way of wanting to build the golden calf so that they would have like a creator that they could see, feel, taste, touch, talk to. They were wanting something that they would rather have something limited that would give them the illusion of a guarantee because they could see it, rather than be able to trust fully in a God that may be visually invisible, but that was present everywhere and real and living. And in active, effort to have a covenant and a relationship with these people. So, which is true for us. The Israelites always represent us and our soul's journey on the path of correction and elevation and awakening. So, the mixed multitude ended up ruining everything for the Israelites. They were they were so unified for a certain period of time that they started living in the realm of miracles. They were revealing like eternal light and eternal life, and they were living in like perfect like wholeness and wellness and experiencing miraculous healings and things like that, until the Babylonians infiltrated their consciousness and got them fixated and focused on material guarantees, material security, material certainty. And that ended up causing division and strife and separation and destruction amongst the Israelites. Well, this broke their covenant with the Creator. It created a space and a distance between them and the Creator because they sinned against the covenant and they started worshiping an idol and they lost affinity with the Creator. And so they fell out of that favor and protection and blessing because they weren't vibrationally in alignment with that cosmic flow anymore. So this week, we focus on and we look at our life and we say, okay, where am I letting the mixed multitude in? Where is the mixed multitude coming into my consciousness through my own thoughts and feelings and projections and actions in my life? Where am I out of alignment? But also, Where am I letting in influences that aren't aligned with my beliefs, my values, and not to say that we need to surround ourselves in an echo chamber of people who reinforce our beliefs, because sometimes we need to, our beliefs need to be challenged, or our beliefs need to be expounded upon, and, we grow through our relationships with other people. But like, say, for instance, if you are starting a company and you have a small team to work with, and let's say you have like 6 people on the team, and 5 of the people they completely see your vision. It's like they understand, they get it, and they are on board. They believe in the mission, and they are willing to give it their wholehearted effort as if it was their own business. But then you have like one person on the team that is a constant like wrench in the flow, and they're kind of always like naysaying. They don't necessarily support the vision. They're always questioning everything, but they don't have proactive solutions either. They create division and strife. They don't get along with others. Like, do you think that the best decision for the company and the mission and for the rest of the staff or crew would be to just suffer through and continue to keep this person on because that's what you think goodness is? Well, the Creator told Moses that he warned them against bringing that type of influence into the unified whole, because it was going to throw a wrench in everything. And it's not like you're abandoning these people forever. It was just like, this is temporary. Like, God was trying to teach the Israelites the power of what happens when they have true love, unconditional love between one another, of unity, of sharing, and how if they could keep that sustained for long enough, they would have unlocked like supernatural levels of miracles and extended that for an extended period of time, and they would have understood the connection and the relevance and said, oh, okay, I get it. When we are in the, kumbaya circle, everybody hold hands, we're all getting along, we all share the same vision, we all share the same mission, our hearts are aligned and joined in the right direction, then it's like people are unstoppable. They can reveal so much goodness and so much power through that unity. And the thing is that what happens is we can't help ourselves. We start bickering, we start butting heads, and we lose our effectiveness. We lose our power. So God was suggesting to Moses, and even when Jesus was on in his crusade and his mission, he was telling his disciples when they went out 2 by 2, he's like, look, at first, we're going to take the message to our people, and we're going to plant the seeds there first, and then the Gentiles will come later when they're ripened and ready. And as it turned out, much to Jesus' surprise, the Jewish people were the more difficult ones to convince in some situations, at least where it came to the temple order. And the Gentiles were just the first to really attach. They were like, I've got little to lose and everything to gain. And their faith was so real, and they jumped right in, and they were like channeling miracles. So the point is that if you can start in your own immediate circles, in your own immediate life, in your own immediate home, can you look to develop harmony and unity and wholeness? And when we can at least get small pockets of that vibration going successfully, then that adds to the light that starts to spill out and create a critical mass, which then starts to affect the cosmic scales. And it, like, we're weighing against our collective heart, right? So how do we combat evil? How do we combat the powers that be? We have to unify. We have to be in unity, and we have to be in harmony. We have to start cultivating that harmony. And so what I've noticed about the other side, or the adversary, or the even specifically down to like in a like a specific human grouping, when you look at the far right, whether it be in the United States or anywhere around the world, they are successful, or extremist groups are successful because they are so unified. Because a lot of times in authoritarian groups like that, and totalitarian groups, they are surrounded by like overly domineering alphas who gather up and surround themselves with passive betas who just are yes men and obey, and yes women and obey, and just do what they're told. Don't think for themselves. So the reason why they're so effective at pushing their agendas is because no one's arguing about nuance. No one's thinking for themselves. They're just doing what they're told. They're totally unified. They have so much strength and faith and willingness to stand by one another, to stick together, to do the favors. Like they know what they're doing. They know that they're using an energetic and spiritual technology. The government has psyops programs. They all know that these things are real. They know how to use them. They have spiritual advisors and predictive guides. They know what they're doing. And especially if all that satanic stuff is going on that is being talked about in the Epstein files, then they really know all of these things, and they're ritually doing it as a practice on purpose. So they're getting ahead because they are all unified, and they're using prayer as a technology to bolster their unified power. Even if like God isn't taking sides and like granting them favor, I answer your prayer. That's not really how prayer works. Prayer is a technology that moves and manipulates and shifts energy. And Jesus said, where two or more gathered and they pray in my name, nothing can be put asunder to them. Am I saying those words right? I don't know. But nothing will be denied them. They can get anything that, like, they can accomplish anything. So they know how to do this and to use this. So we need to start doing it too, because people who are more even if it's not left leaning, but just generally everyone else who's not extremist, far right, far conservative, authoritarian, we're more individualistic. We all have our own opinions, and we care about nuance. And then you start splitting hairs, and you start arguing and bickering amongst yourselves, and you can't get on the same page, and you have questions. And it's good to have questions, it's good to push back, but we all need to realize the power and strategy, how to snap into unity when we need to, how to snap into harmony, how to snap into wholeness, get it together for the sake of a cause, a common goal, and be able to execute that. So I think that is one of the big keys this week. And then realizing when we see something that is throwing a wrench in the harmony, that we need to take that into account. Is this something that is repairable, correctable, or does this just not belong in, is this never going to be harmonious in my life, in my circle, in my consciousness? And then if so, it's like prune that part of the dead vine that needs to fall away. That might mean not inviting dangerous people into your life, or people who mean harm, or people who are negative and like vindictive, or, like we all know these people who go around and stir the pot and start shit and create, negativity. And it's just like people just keep letting them be around, and then they spend a lot of time complaining about the effects of having these people and their influence in their life, whether that be on a personal level or in systemic situations, like that's the warning sign of the mixed multitude. That's it's a cautionary tale. And Moses was coming from a good place. He was coming from a Pisces heart of sharing, of wanting to include everyone, but he was jumping the gun because those particular, like the Babylonians, because they had a different consciousness and a different set of like religious practices and beliefs. They steered people in a wrong direction, or they steered them away from what was true to them, what was authentic for them, their path. And because of that, it weakened the Israelites, and they fell out of that supernatural level of miraculous experience and that level of connection and affinity with the Creator. So, having laid the foundation, that is heavily influencing our last night's reading and this reading today. So from the wild and unknown archetypes, we've got the flame, followed by the fault line, and followed by the ring. And then one more thought on that, the consciousness thing. It's like back to the example of the business and having someone that doesn't get the vision. I know as a creative, it is not helpful if you're a dreamer, if you have a big vision. It's sometimes not helpful to tell people about your ideas, because if you have like a pessimistic person around, they can be like so naysaying that they can kind of ruin your hopes. They can kind of like take the wind out of your sail, and they can maybe even try to protect you from what they think is going to be something foolish or a mistake. And with good intention, they can be destructive, right? And throw you off maybe what your path is, because they scared you out of it or discouraged you, right? So it's important that we are intentional about and aware of the kind of influences and energy that we have cultivated around us in any given time. Okay, so we have the flame, the fault line, and the ring. And underneath the flame, we have 6 of Swords reversed. Underneath fault line, we have 6 of Pentacles. And underneath the ring, we have the World. So I'm going to let y'all listen to the audio real quick, and we will be right back. I would definitely plan on travel plans being postponed throughout the week. The situation on Earth is intense and highly combustible. A critical mass of people must focus our attention on working together and creating unity, goodness, and sharing, even if only in small pockets. Collectively, this is shifting the temperature of escalating vibrations on Earth. This moment hangs on our collective ability to work together for a common cause: global peace, liberation, and dignity for all. This is how we awaken miracles, through our radical love for goodness and for one another. The old paradigms are crumbling as this cycle comes to its completion. Evil is being exposed, and like every villainous archetype, they become their own undoing. Do not let this moment snuff out your flame. Your strength, your focus, your gift, your soul, Your process of correcting and elevating your consciousness is needed right now. Every action done to transform darkness contributes to the shift of the cosmic scale that weigh humanity's collective heart. Okay, so everything on Earth is extremely tense at the moment. People say we're on the brink of World War III, but it just seems like we are actually in World War III. Like even Australia just sent troops to Iran, or not troops to Iran, but troops to different places in the Middle East to help support the countries in that are being targeted right now. And just everything is so tense and so heavy. And I mean, just in the United States, and I'm sure this is true abroad, or it might be or may not be, but the cost of living, the housing prices, the amount of student debt that people are still in and taking on, the amount of recessions and financial depressions that we've been through here, and then the amount of environmental threats and global warfare going on, at the hands of our administration, it's difficult not to lose hope entirely and become completely despondent and not even think, what's the point of anything? Because what do I have to look forward to as I get older? Just no safety net, no support, just working myself into the ground until I'm dead, because generally how people are feeling right now. So it can be really easy for your flame to just get blown out and feel a complete level of burnout and hopelessness, and just slip into a fog and lose your energy and get into a depression and get into a rut, and then just sort of give in and let everything awful just take over. And things change and things pass. And so when this moment is behind us, we will, how will we look back on these few years? They go by so fast. Did you just put your life on hold while everything, is falling apart? Because God needs us showing up right now. The world needs us showing up right now. It doesn't matter who you are or what your gift is, whether you're a comedian or a nuclear physicist who can solve the problem and de-escalate the situation. I don't think the nuclear physicist would help unless they can pull the plug and turn it all off. But regardless of whether, you think that your gift is relevant right now, it is needed. We need art. We need things to look forward to. We need beauty. We need something funny. We need people who are setting the record straight with theology. We need people, doing research in medicine. We need people funding that research for things in medicine. We need inventors. We need people designing great clothes to wear. We need people figuring out how to do things sustainably. We need people who want to stay home and take care of the children. We need everything. So whatever your personal, unique calling is, your gifts, your talents, your perspective, those things are needed in the world. And I'm not saying that you should start a podcast, because if I hear another podcast, if I hear another voice of someone going, it's so good, I'm going to choose violence. I can't anymore. So there is more ways to contribute on Earth than to talk about shit for an hour or 3 hours. We need action. We need things being done, things being made, physical actions being taken. Although some people, their purpose is to speak into a podcast or do videos or whatever, but it just feels like every single person now is you know what, I think I'm gonna start a podcast. And it's just like saturated. Like, please, unless you have a very, very outstanding perspective and voice and another angle to explore, maybe just reconsider. I can't listen to another chick telling me that I should take colostrum. Just get out of my face. Okay, but so back to being serious. Okay. So Six of Swords reverse is like a feeling of like being kind of stuck in a difficult situation and not being able to kind of get over the hump to get out of it, because the Six of Swords upright is being on the other side of difficulty and getting, into more peaceful days and brighter horizons and, over the difficulty. But if in this case, it's like we're kind of stuck in an energy rut and we need to kind of bootstrap up and pull ourselves out of it. The Creator needs us to like plumb our depths and get focused and get determined and get disciplined, because we're needed. Our gifts are needed. Our talents are needed. Things are needed in the world. The flame is like that inner spark, our desire, our joy, our purpose, our why, our reason for doing, being, living. And it's so delicate, like it's sacred. We've got to hold on to, we've got to keep it protected, because it's so vulnerable, right? And when we're exposed to the harshities of the world, to the harsh winds that will blow and shake, we've got to shield that flame, or else it's going to be snuffed out or blown out. So it's something that we have to tend to, and it's very delicate, but it is everything. This is the pilot light that is igniting our soul, that illuminates our soul, and it's fragile, and we have to protect that light within us, because this world will quickly put it out. It's too easy to look at the odds stacked against us in every category. Even if you were like, well, maybe I don't want to, take on the world and be a tycoon of industry, but maybe I can just have a house, a little plot of foam, and with a garden and a picket fence. It's like, even that's starting to become, a high ideal. And yeah, and so, but I still believe these things are possible, because I feel like if God has something for you, nothing's going to stand in the way. My parents were given a house. They told this man that owned this farmhouse around Nashville, where I live, in one of the surrounding areas. There's this 100-year-old farmhouse, and they're like, they walk up to the door, and they're like, do you own this place? And then the man was like, yeah. And they're like, God told us you'd give us this house. And he's like, get off my property. And then he reached out, got in touch with them, and he was like, yeah, God told me to give you this house. And so somebody just gave them a house, and they deconstructed it and used the materials and rebuilt like what ended up being my childhood home. So we didn't have means to purchase, these things. And then the piece of land that they found to build on, they got for an incredible deal. It was like unbelievable. It's near the lake and everything. So nothing's out of God's hands. Nothing is out of God's reach, right? It's just, is the timing right? Is this going to be the thing that's gonna bring out the greatest potential of our soul? There's so much that we don't know, so many factors playing in. So trust that what has been put within you is there for a reason. So don't let that fire get snuffed out. Now, fault line and Six of Pentacles. Right now, the fault line card is talking about how precarious a situation is. It's talking about pressure and tension. And what happens when, you're at a fault line, it's like where the tectonic plates meet. And on Earth, when pressure starts building under the surface of the upper layers of the crust, the pressure from like the core starts pushing up against the tectonic plates and they start shifting, right? Remember, Earth used to be a supercontinent, Pangea, and over time, those tectonic plates, the pressure pushed the continents away. They broke apart. That's why the Appalachian Mountains used to be part of the Scottish Highlands. So I rode over on the mountain. So everything is in flux, and there's so much pressure on Earth, and it's changing the face of Earth and humanity. I mean, not like physically, literally with the continents, but there was an earthquake in Iran last week or so, at the beginning of the onset of the war, the first few days. And they insisted that it was a natural earthquake when the world science community read the, what is the thing that measures earthquakes? Is it a Geiger-meter, or is a Geiger-meter from Ghostbusters? But y'all know what I'm talking about. So they checked the signature, the vibrational signature, and it was not, it looked natural. It looked like a low kind of like rumbling vibration. So the tension on Earth is tangible. It's palatable right now. Everything is just so fragile and hanging by a thread. And it's all because of like greed and egos clashing and authoritarian toxicity and the system set up by the patriarchal system that is self-serving to the point of psychopathology. It is set to self-destruct right now. It's the button is just sitting there. And so we're kind of like, the rest of the world is watching as a few fragile, egoic children punish everyone. And are on a path of destruction. They are the mixed multitude. It's like they're ruining everything for everyone on Earth. All the rest of us who are ready to live in harmony and who are ready to create unity, there's like this chunk of the population, they're scattered about, they're all really busy right now. There was a bunch of people having a hate rally in New York for the far right, and they like instigated by that MFer that was just nearly torn to pieces in that angry mob in Minnesota, and yet those people stopped him from getting torn apart. I can't remember who it was officially in the end, but it was like a black dude, and it was either a Muslim guy or there was rumors it was a trans person. Either way, it was like the exact marginalized people that he's hating on and like instigating crowds and things. They're the ones that saved him, and which was a beautiful poetic moment at the time. And then right after that, he ran right out and tried to do some bullshit again. And it's just like, motherfucker, you are not learning a lesson. And then he was up there instigating this hate rally in New York where some of his pawns that look like festies left over from Bonnaroo 2010 tried to set a pipe bomb in front of Mamdani's, the mayor's apartment. So it was found quickly. Police were able to deactivate the situation, but nevertheless, it's just like, it's just like, what is their malfunction at this point? Like how are you still showing up and just being like so hateful, and then just like not like, everybody hates you, you're ruining it for everyone. Like, just fucking wake up and get with the program. Can you already? And so here we have Six of Pentacles, which is an unexpected windfall. It's like equal give and take, sharing, generosity, charitable actions, being spiritually generous, being kind, and equal giving and receiving. When you put the work in, the value comes back, in tenfold some cases. So yes, this is a precarious situation that can blow up and escalate, and is very highly combustible. Let's just put it that way. So the key to de-escalation is here. It's that fostering unity, doing acts of sharing, doing acts of charity, being spiritually generous with one another, setting standards, holding people accountable, like upholding justice in the world, right? We can't just be letting these people walk all over everyone and not doing anything about it. Like, that's the thing right now. There's so much toxic passivity going on, and people just watching as everything unfolds, and they're like, well, they've done it so gradually. It's like, no, everybody's been wise to the game since day one. We've been laying out the playbook, and it's just like, well, I guess we just gotta wait to see what happens next. It's like, this is what it's done. This is what that passive, toxic passivity has done when you do not hold evil accountable, when you let evil run unchecked, right? It's too merciful. The side of the tree of life, these are the governing forces of reality and the dimensions of the Godhead. These spherots are virtue or their vice, depending on what state we're in. And they need to be balanced in order to have a stable, functioning harmony here. And this is the map of our soul too. So at any given point, we are working on these things in a micro level, while these things are true, the governing forces, in a macro level. Now, these pairs are pairs for a reason. What do we have? We have the force of mercy and kindness paired with the force of strength and discipline, and like the warrior, the soldier. If the warrior and the soldier is out of balance, then it becomes a tyrant, and it becomes a totalitarian, overbearing, domineering, and it runs roughshod, and it becomes a like dictatorship. It becomes harmful, oppressive, right? And that can be the same in us. We can get overly domineering, controlling, become a tyrant. At the same time, that's if the mercy is overkill, then it's too weak. It's like the doormat that gets walked all over. Whereas strong mercy and sharing is good. It's generative, and good strength is positive because it protects us from evil and injustice and crime and people taking advantage of us. It helps us have the backbone to set standards and boundaries, right? But if we're too boundaried, too, hard, closed off, we're not charitable enough, right? So there needs to be a balance. But if you there's too much mercy, then it's like you are being, there's like toxic passivity there, and there's taking and the giving, and then there's a price to pay for it. So we have to practice both strength and mercy and compassion and understanding, wisdom and discernment. So And we have the ring. So this is a cycle that is coming to an end. These are patterns that are coming to completion. The world card here is like we are birthing through right now a new paradigms, new consciousness, a new earth, a new world is coming through from the upper realms, from the realms of the spiritual, vibrational imagination, like potential state it's coming through. It's been being transformed in the spiritual realm, in the non-material, and now it is coming through into the world. Our growth as a collective, like the greater good is on the forefront of most people's, I think, radar, or at least in growing masses. And so we're really getting tired, and we're seeing the destructive consequences of living in a world that is all about the self and the pursuit of personal gain, and no thought of how our actions affect the other people around us, or the earth, or the environment, right? So I think that when Pluto moved into Aquarius, and then we shifted into the age of Aquarius, and Pluto moved out of Capricorn, it's like we went out of our own karma and are fixated on our own problems and our own hang-ups. And we evolved past that to be more concerned with the greater collective struggles and human issues and humanitarian issues as a collective. And so we are trying to birth through a new paradigm and a new world, a new system. You know, people are really like, oh, you know, we need a matriarchal system that is based on like a village communal mindset approach, where it's like it's nurturing and care centered and oriented around taking care of the children, making sure the people are nurtured and healthy, and, you know, they have a sense of well-being. Thousands of years ago, before the system shifted into a patriarchal leadership and dominated by patriarchy, when societies and like tribal worlds were run in like matriarchal systems, it was peaceful times and very creative, and I think that we'd all like to go back to something like that, right? Where we feel nurtured and there's safety nets in place and there's people care for one another, and even systems are set up to care for one another. Can you imagine how wonderful? There are places in Europe where the systems are set up and it's humane and it provides a dignified life to, you know, the citizens that live there. And we're shifting in that direction. People want this. They're starving for it. We just have to overcome the people who are already ahead of the game. They're already resourced, but good for us, they're stretching themselves so thin, they're going to be their own undoing. So we just have to, you know, hang on, keep preparing ourselves for this inevitable collapse, and we're going to swoop in and take over, and people are going to be thriving and taken care of and feel secure in the fact that we won't feel like the whole system is set up against us, right? There's no real security except for trusting that God is our ultimate security and God is moving through us. But if we can create a world that reflects the light of the Creator and Christ consciousness, you know, that unity is going to permeate and create like a bubble of protection and security around us. And so I hope with all hopes that we can get there. We're definitely at the end of a cycle. We've come to the end of a millennium where 2,000 years ago, Jesus introduced these ideas. What if we loved our neighbor as ourself? Blessed are the poor, the meek, mid are the billionaire class, right? So these 2,000 years we've had to sort of work on this very simple, direct message. We haven't come very far, but we're at a boiling point now, and it's come to a head, and we're at an impasse, and we kind of have no other choice but to face our inevitable demise, or we awaken. And so the pressure's up, and life is pushing us against when your back's against the wall. It's Jewel. All right, so hang in there, baby. We're getting through it. It is only going to be by the hand of God working miracles for mankind. It won't be because we forced his hand into it in a plot to bring on Armageddon, but it will be through our own willingness to change from our heart, from our soul, and then change in our actions and our embodiment of that. In the movies, when you're learning about screenwriting, they talk about it being bad writing. If you've taken your hero into the big confrontation and they're facing off their big challenge, and suddenly how do you solve the movie? You have some act of God come in and save the day, and it was done for the hero and everything's fine now. That's a weak end of a story. It's weak writing. It's weak story. It's lazy. And so I don't think that's how God intends for us to live either. It's lazy. It's like, absolve myself of everything, absolve us from any responsibility. I showed up at church this week, and when's Jesus coming back? When's Jesus doing it for me? That is the toxicity of the way that Christians have been cultivated by the authoritarian agenda to be passive, not be active, awakened, powerful spiritual warriors, but to be flaccid and have spiritual impotency, right? Be spiritually and energetically impotent. And so it's up to us when we by our own choice from our heart decide, I want to transform the dark parts in me. I want to transform the lazy parts in me. I want to transform the fearful parts in me, or the prejudiced parts of me, or the judgmental parts of me. Whatever it is that we need to awaken within our soul and bring online, it's like that willingness to overcome our comfort zone and our ego. That's what reveals power. That's what reveals that light that shines through, that influences. So Jesus did not want passive followers. And our tikkun olam, our collective soul correction, is not done for us. We're not going to get raptured out of the situation, because it's our assignment to come here and fix the shit and clean up the mess to begin with. This is our job. This is our part of the deal, right? We have to show up. We have to give it our all. We have to give it our best. After that, we really have to proactively give our best. But then the surrender part is not, I guess I'm going to give up now. It's, I'm going to keep doing my part, and I'm going to trust that if the Creator wants this to move a certain way, or to land a certain way, or to have a certain level of success, then it will. But I have to trust the Creator's plan. I have to trust the Creator's timing, And so I know that I'm only effective if the Creator wants me to be. No matter how much effort I put into it, this thing is only going to be successful, or it's only going to be effective if the Creator wills it to be so, right? But I still have to do my part as a human being on this planet. There's a reason I came here. There's a purpose I came here. There's a purpose we all come here. And it's our soul correction. And it's to get in here and get our hands dirty and make an effort. And so as we make an effort, an honest effort, that is going to shift those scales, not us waiting in passivity. Well, I guess I'm going to hide out in a cave and avoid everything and not get involved. And, I'm just going to avoid, I'll absolve myself of responsibility and wait for Jesus to return, wait to be raptured. If you did get raptured, you would go straight to your heavenly court meeting, and you would be asked, what were you doing? What were you spending your time in the material realm focused on? Did you waste your time? Did you waste your life, your incarnation? Like, what were you there doing? Why didn't you address any of these things? And then you're going to feel silly, right? We're not, because we're here doing it. But we need this awakening, this critical mass to start getting it too. And I think that people really are. I just think that the sample of the population that's super, super shitty is just, it's so gross at this point, so unpleasant. Such a contrast that we're just like, it feels bigger than it is. It feels like there's more of them than there are. They're way outnumbered. They're just way more obnoxious. All right, that is all for tonight, you guys. Tomorrow we will be back for our weekly manifestation oracle message. Until then, may peace be with you. Ciao.